Welcome back to yet another tier list. I'm really having fun with these because it's quite a fun thing to do. I like to rank things. So I've eaten plenty of cereal in my time. I don't really eat cereal anymore, but I ate it quite a lot as a child, and I think I've tried just about most of these. There's a couple on here that I think I haven't had, but most of them pretty universal. I think most people have had most of these. So let's just get right into it. Cornflakes. Most people don't like cornflakes. I don't think many people dislike cornflakes. I'm a big fan of cornflakes. I think cornflakes have a really nice flavor, a really nice texture, as long as you just, you can't let them sit too long. That's the only thing about cornflakes. Some cereals you can let sit, and then oftentimes they'll get better, especially really crunchy cereals. Any sort of Cocoa Puffs, those generally get better as they sit. But cornflakes, you gotta eat them right away. They're A tier. I don't know what the hell this is. Hostess Donuts. I have never had that. Fruity Pebbles. Fuck Fruity Pebbles. Fruity Pebbles are trash. They're disgusting. They're my least favorite cereal. They are the worst, and it's kind of interesting because Cocoa Pebbles or Cocoa Pebbles. Yeah, I don't know why I enunciated that incorrectly the first time, but Cocoa Pebbles are good, really good actually. But Fruity Pebbles are really nasty, and I don't know how they managed to fuck them up. I mean, fruity cereal in general is not all that great, but the leap from Cocoa Pebbles to Fruity Pebbles is such a large leap in quality. It's very surprising. Cocoa Puffs are not very good. They're D tier. They're bland, according to this. And I think I'd agree with that. They're pretty bland. They're called Cocoa Puffs, but they don't really have all that cocoa-y of a flavor. Out of all the cereals, they probably leave the best milk out of the chocolate cereals. The milk tends to be more flavorful than the actual cereal itself by the end of it. French Toast Crunch, I have never had. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, on the other hand, is very good. It's very cinnamony. It's not excellent. It's very good, according to this. Yeah, it's B tier. There's the cinnamon notes are nice. The textures doesn't quite do it for me. If it had a better texture to it, I probably would rate it higher because the flavor itself is really nice. But just, not all that great. Frosted Flakes are just cornflakes that are covered in sugar, and as such, they don't really taste that good. They're too sugary. I'd rather just eat cornflakes. I'm gonna give them a C tier. I think people are gonna crucify me for this, for putting Frosted Flakes below cornflakes. But I don't really like sweet things all that much. I don't really have that big of a sweet tooth. I much prefer savory foods over sweet foods, and I think cornflakes kind of fit that bill more so than Frosted Flakes. Apple Jacks. I don't really like Apple Jacks. Apple Jacks, I mean, the cinnamon flavor is good, but if I wanted a cinnamon cereal, I'd probably just go with Cinnamon Toast Crunch at that point. The apple fruitiness doesn't really jive all that well with me. I don't like the texture of these loop cereals. The way they make your mouth feel is not good. I would put it in F tier. Banana Nut Crunch, I don't think I've ever had that in my entire life. Raisin Bran, I know I said I'm not a big, sweets guy and don't got a big sweet tooth, but Raisin Bran, oh man, I gotta give it to Raisin Bran. They have made a godlike cereal with Raisin Bran. I don't know what it is about that. I mean, Bran cereal on its own, not that great, but Raisin Bran, ooh boy, I love me some Raisin Bran. I think it might even be better if it didn't have bran and instead it was just cornflakes. I'm imagining a raisin cornflake cereal, and I think that might actually be better than Raisin Bran. But Raisin Bran is all we got. So one of my favorite cereals, S tier. Love me some Raisin Bran. Crunch Berries. Crunch Berries is another S tier, actually. Crunch Berries is one of the only good, like, fruity cereals. Captain Crunch Crunch Berries. For a while there, this was my go-to cereal. This was the cereal that I would buy, like, all the time. Mostly because I didn't really like all that many other cereals. Yeah, Crunch Berries was a go-to. Cookie Crisp. Oh, man, I have not had Cookie Crisp in fucking years. Wow. What I remember from it was it had a pretty awful texture. The texture of the cookies did not really work well with the milk, and just how crunchy they were. They weren't crispy. They were super crunchy and hard, and it was not a good experience. And the flavor wasn't even all that great. All things considered, I would give them a D tier, to be honest. Frosted Mini Wheats. They take shredded wheat cereal, which on its own is incredibly bland, and they just add a little bit of frosting to it to really bring out that flavor. You know, that really kind of sweeten things up a little bit. Not to the point where it's too sweet, which I would accuse Frosted Flakes of being, but just enough to where it actually tastes good. So I'm gonna give them an A tier. Cocoa Pebbles, that's another A tier right there. Gotta love Cocoa Pebbles. Actually, it is the best chocolate cereal. I don't know why I forgot the word chocolate there for a moment. Never had Waffle Crisp. Reese's Puffs. Now, I'm a big Reese's fan for the most part. I've sort of been on a Reese's kick to the point where, like, Reese's is a little bit disgusting to me now just because I've eaten so much of it. I was trying every single type of Reese's candy bar for whatever reason, just so that I could, say if they were any good, just so that I could rank them, I guess. But Reese's Puffs was always something that I was never really a fan of. I'm gonna give them a D tier. It feels kind of bad giving, Reese's a D tier, but their cereal just is not that great. Lucy O-O's. I've been meaning to try these. Have not found any, so I can't rate them, but they look all right. Honey Buns, never had. Froot Loops. Froot Loops are, like, I don't know, they're average, I guess. Froot Loops don't really do anything for me. They all, every fucking loop is the same flavor. It's just this generic, kind of overly sweet, semi-fruity flavor. It's not bland, but it's not good. Is this Lucky Charms chocolate? I've never had Lucky Charms chocolate, so I don't think I can say where they rank. Peanut Butter Crunch. Peanut Butter Crunch is pretty good. It's very good, I guess, according to this. It is B tier. I would say that because Captain Crunch on its own generally has a pretty good line of cereals. I don't think it's quite as good as Crunch Berries because they are all of the circle type Captain Crunch, whereas I think the square type Captain Crunch is a little bit easier to chew, which is why I like the variety of the Captain Crunch Berries because you get both. Whereas with this and Oops All Berries, which is probably one of my least favorite, you're really only getting this one type that's a little bit harder to chew just because of the shape. That's another thing that I have a problem with, like Cocoa Puffs and any other type of like circle ball type cereal, is that chewing it generally is more work than it needs to be. Oreo O's, never had Oreo O's. Chex. I like Chex. I've never had a problem with Chex. I'll give them a B tier. They're nothing. Is that Chex Cinnamon? Yeah, I've had Chex Cinnamon. Yeah, Chex Cinnamon. They're B tier. Pops. I'm not a fan of Pops. I don't like Pops very much at all, actually. I can't really describe why, because I haven't had them in so long. Maybe they don't even deserve F tier. I couldn't say, because I haven't had them in like over half a decade. So, from what I remember, they were gross. I didn't like them. Honey Graham O's. Oh, Honey Graham O's. Come on. A tier. A tier, baby. If you haven't had Honey Graham O's, I highly recommend getting some Honey Graham O's, because they are really, really good. They're another one of those cereals that I still will indulge in from time to time. That and Captain Crunch berries and Raisin Bran as well. But nobody ever really buys Raisin Bran, so. But these are pretty popular in my house, so these show up every once in a while, and they are quite good. They're very honey esque, not honey esque. They are they are flavored like honey. They're covered in honey, I assume. They're the inside of the O's. They have this little bit of I guess it's graham, I would assume. I have no idea what they shove inside there, but it's fucking delicious. My only complaint with them is that they're a little bit abrasive when you're chewing on them. That's the only thing keeping them from an S tier is the texture. They're a little bit too crunchy, but the flavor is just so good that I gotta give them an A tier. Cocoa Krispies are, they're very similar to Cocoa Pebbles, but there's just something about them that I really can't, I can't jive with. I couldn't tell you in words the difference between Cocoa Pebbles and Cocoa Krispies in terms of flavor, other than Cocoa Krispies are just less flavorful. So I'm going to give them a C tier. Oatmeal Squares. Oatmeal Squares are good. I like oatmeal squares. Yeah. I have nothing else to say about oatmeal squares. Special K. I've not ever had Special K. What the hell is that? Does that say Strawberry Krispies? I don't think I've ever had that. Golden Crisp. Golden Crisp is average. I mean, nothing special there. Rice Krispies. I do like me some Rice Krispies. They're nothing spectacular. I put them above Cocoa Krispies. They've got a nice kind of crispy texture, but if you let them sit too long, they just become mush. Yeah. Apple Cinnamon Cheerios. Have been meaning to try those. Never got around to it. Honey Nut Cheerios. Everybody likes Honey Nut Cheerios, except for me, for whatever reason. Well, no, I like Honey Nut Cheerios. Who am I kidding? I just don't like them as much as most people. I think they're kind of average. I put them D tier, to be honest. The honey and the Cheerios, something about it, man. I prefer just regular ass Cheerios, honestly. Cheerios on their own just have a better flavor, in my opinion. Lucky Charms. So I used to be a real big fan of Lucky Charms when I was a real little kid. But, over the years, my taste has matured, and I really can't get past the texture of the marshmallows anymore. The cereal on its own is fine, and the flavor of the marshmallows is pretty good, but I think just overall, it doesn't really do all that much for me. I think the marshmallows are a good novelty. I think that it's a good cereal for kids, but they've got a very styrofoamy texture of the marshmallows, and it's C tier. Trix are F tier. Fuck Trix. They're not good. They're just not good. Cheerios. I'll give Cheerios a B tier, because I like Cheerios, but I think there are all of these cereals are better, and I think it's more on par with these cereals, in my opinion. I'd rather have any of these cereals where, given the choice between, say, Cheerios and Rice Krispies, I probably, I don't know. I don't know which one I would pick between these two, and that's why it goes on B tier. Kix. I have not had Kix since I was like 9, so I don't even know. I'll give them a D tier though, because I don't remember them being all that great. Golden Grams are decent. They're C tier. Haven't had Golden Grams in years either. But from what I remember, they had a very nice texture. But the flavor just was a little bit too sweet, a little bit too sweet with no flavor to really back up the sweetness. Honey Bunches of Oats. That says Cinnamon Bunches, but I'm just going to rate it as if it were just regular Honey Bunches of Oats, because regular Honey Bunches of Oats are good. They are good, but they're not spectacular. You know, as with every other B tier. That's why they're going on B tier. I have all of the, you know, I don't know, Honey Bunches of Oats. Great texture. They're very, very nice. But the flavor just, what? Yeah, flavor-wise, nothing spectacular, but they've got a nice texture. So, you know, that reason alone bumps them up from C tier. Honey Smacks are, I don't think I've ever had Honey Smacks. Honeycombs, on the other hand, I have had, and I have to put them in D tier because their texture is god-awful, and the flavor is not very good either. They're not to the point where, like, I dislike their flavor, as, you know, with F tier, but it's incredibly bland, and they always make my mouth hurt after I eat them, so I don't like them. Just regular-ass Cap'n Crunch, I like regular-ass Cap'n Crunch. I'll give it an A tier. It's not as good as Crunch Berries, but it's okay. And Sour Patch, that's just sounds nasty. I've never even had this, but if I did eat this, it would probably reach trash tier because that sounds fucking disgusting. That doesn't even sound good. Yeah, well, that's all of the ones that I've tried. I think it's all, you know, all works out about, you know, yeah, that's, there you go.